We're all watching the Ukraine border, and you are too. But there's a concern which we heard from Secretary Tony Blinken in his speech at the United Nations. We've heard from President Biden, and that is that if the Russians do take part or all of Ukraine, they're unlikely to stop there. Tell us what you think the threat is, if any, to the Baltic states like Estonia that have joined NATO.
Well, I don't think that in 21st century we can say that geography actually is so important in whether you are under threat. Yes, if you think of conventional threats, then obviously if we allow something bad to happen to Ukraine and our response is weak, then indeed Ukraine, which is right now not fighting only for Ukraine, but for all of us, has failed. It would be very unfair to let Ukrainians fight alone for us. So we need to make sure that Ukraine has enough capabilities and capacity to pose a serious threat also to Russia, which actually I think Ukrainian army does. And I think if anything is withholding things going radically wrong today, this is the risk of many bitter mothers also in Russia, because it will be horrible, not only for Ukraine, it will be horrible also for Russia. And I so hope that it still will not happen. But we have to stand up for Ukraine because they are fighting there also, indeed, I agree, for the freedom of us all, democratic world. Can we be bullied? Can we leave some of us, and say, okay, the rest are still safe? Today, Baltic states and Poland are safe. NATO has a 100% track record. Can we be satisfied with such an approach, throwing bits and pieces of our deterrence away, saying maybe we withdraw the troops? I don't think we can.
If the world can preserve Ukraine's territorial integrity, tell us what's the right model for them. We're all in agreement they're not joining NATO anytime soon, as Ian just said. But is the right model Finland, a independent country that is not a member of NATO, but is just on the edge of that? Is it more like Austria? Is it something entirely different? What's the model we should think about that works for a Ukraine that isn't in NATO, but which we all agree needs to be defended?
It's interesting how also you referred to preserving Ukrainian territorial integrity. We have first to achieve it. Crimea is occupied.
Sure.
And we must not forget it. It also hurts my ear when we speak about Minsk and Normandy, and nobody even speaks about Budapest anymore. Let's not forget that already a lot of ground has been lost, which we need to, with strategic patience, with smart diplomacy, but also being strong together, we need to crawl back. So let's agree on that. Second, I do think indeed that Ukraine needs to be given an opportunity to participate with the NATO allies in a union which recognizes that the red line they are standing at right now is not about Ukraine. It's about free and democratic world. It's about European security. It is something bigger. If we are only too focused on Ukraine and whether it will be a slice or a bigger slice, I think we are missing the big picture, the important picture.